Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be making this awesome table runner. It is a really cool style because it has a whole bunch of different width strips. And when you put them all together, it gives you this really cool effect. So a few things that I would like to mention about this is I would recommend looking for a strip that has a nice print on it, but then looking for a solid print to go in between. And I think that will make this table runner look its best. I don't know if you've noticed, but this table runner does have a border. You can easily make this table runner without a border. I will link to 2 different tutorials in the description down below. One on how to add a border to a table runner, and one on how to make a table runner without a border. So if you like this table runner, but you are too scared to make borders at this point in time, that is okay. You can still make this table runner. Now let's jump into the tutorial.
You will need 2 coordinating fabrics for the top of your table runner, another one for the back of your table runner, and a 4th fabric that you can cut into strips for your binding if you are planning on doing binding. And you will also need some batting. I like to use a low loft batting. So the first thing that we need to do is cut up all of our different varying strips. You will be cutting your fabric from selvage edge to selvage edge. Most cotton fabrics come at around 42 inches in length, so this will determine the length of your table runner. You can always make a longer table runner, but then you will have to cut your fabric along the selvage edge, and you will need a lot more fabric if you want to do it that way. So we will need 5 different strips of fabric. So you will cut your first strip at 3 inches wide, the next one at 2.5 inches wide, then 2 inches wide, 1.5 inches wide, and the last strip will be 1 inch wide. Then take all of these strips and stack them in the order that you cut them, and then cut 5 more strips in these exact same widths with the opposite fabric. So in the end, you will have 10 strips of fabric. Just make sure to keep all of the strips in the correct order as we go along. The next thing that we want to do is actually just press out that one fold that's still in our fabric. So I just took it to my iron and I just pressed that center seam nice and flat. I did not press the entire strip because I didn't really want to warp the strip at all.
All right, you guys, we have officially cut out all of our strips. Good job. And I just want to tell you that all of this fabric was gifted to me by Michael Miller. And it is a beautiful line of fabrics, definitely inspired by blue jeans, you know, Canadian tuxedos. So I do really love this fabric. And on top of it all, my living room is all navies. So this fabric is going to be going on pillows, on table runners, on quilts, because it just matches. It's just the best. I will link to all of their fabrics in the description down below. Now let's put all of those strips together and make our table runner.
Now it's time to lay all of our strips together. You will lay them with the largest strip being on the outer edge, so that's your 3 inch strip, and then you'll move them in. So you've got your 3 inch, then your 2.5, then 2 inch, then 1.5, and then finally the 1 inch. Then you can take your second set of strips and lay them opposite. So you'll start with the 3 inch again on the outer edge and then slowly work your way in. And now it's time to sew all of the strips together. You will do this using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Next, take it back to your iron and press all of those seams open. I did spray my seams with some Annie's Best Press. That's optional, but if you're interested, I have it linked in the description down below.
Quick interruption, I just want to say, if you are liking this tutorial, please hit that thumbs up button because it helps YouTube share my videos with other people. And if you don't want to lose me on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. All right, let's keep on sewing.
Now it's time to prep the back piece of fabric. You will cut your fabric at 18 inches wide by the width of the fabric, or from selvage to selvage. You will also cut your batting at the same measurements. Now it's at this point where you really do need to decide, are you going to add that outer border or do you want to do the version without? If you are doing the version without the binding, then what you will do is you will just quilt the table runner top up to your batting and leave that back piece of fabric for later. But for myself, I decided I did want to add the binding. So to do that, I laid my back fabric right side face down. Then I laid my batting on top of that. And then finally, I laid my table runner topper right side up on top of that and created a nice little sandwich. Now there are two ways to baste all of these 3 layers together. You can use pins, either just plain safety pins or special curved pins specifically made for quilting, or you can use this 505 spray, which I love to use, especially on small projects. So for myself, I am going to use the 505 spray, and to do that, you need to spray the back of your fabric and then lay the batting on top of that, and you need to spray the batting and lay the table runner topper on top of that. Now, before we actually quilt our project, it is important to note what color thread you are going to use on the top versus on the bottom. My backing fabric was a nice navy color, so I put navy thread on my bobbin and it matched the back quite nicely. And I decided to do the navy on the top because I'm working with a really pretty navy color palette, so it seemed to blend in the best. And if you have a walking foot, now is the time to put that on your sewing machine, but it is not necessary. You can easily use a regular sewing foot. The quilting can be done any way that you want, but for myself, I thought I would just show you that I used my sewing foot as a guide and I sewed along each side of the seam. I started at one side and I sewed along the outer edge of each seam, and then once I got into the middle of my table runner, I had to do a bit of a switcheroo so that I could continue sewing all of my strips correctly. I hope that you can see that here. Now that the entire piece has been quilted, it is finally time to trim off those ugly selvage edges. And then we will square up our entire piece, and that will prepare it nicely for the binding. And of course, if you are not doing the binding, you would still want to square up the top part that you've sewn to the batting and make sure you cut out the backing fabric the same size.
Quick question, what is your favorite length of table runner? And even width for that matter. Please leave your answers in the comments down below because those answers will help me in future tutorials. I want to make table runners that are sizes that you are looking for. So please leave them in the comments down below. Let's keep on sewing.
Now, as I said at the beginning of this tutorial, I will have a link in the description down below that will show you how I add binding to a table runner, but I did just want to show you here that I cut 3 strips at 2.5 inches to create my binding for this entire table runner. It is not a very long table runner, so I only needed the 3 strips.
And one final thank you to Michael Miller Fabric for this gorgeous fabric that I will have linked in the description down below. So if you're interested, definitely check it out and ask your local fabric store to stock up on some gorgeous denim prints. All right, I will see you guys next time. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'm posting this on Tuesday. Have a wonderful week. I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.